My name is Mike Lee. I'm a U.S. Senator from the state of Utah. I'm a lawyer by training. Appellate litigation was my specialty. I'm a lifelong student of the Constitution. I was elected to the United States Senate in 2010. I previously served as a law clerk earlier in my career at all three levels of the federal judiciary, clerking at the district court, at the Court of Appeals level in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit, and later on the U.S. Supreme Court for Justice Sam Alito. My late father, Rex Lee, was the Solicitor General of the United States under President Ronald Reagan. He was also a law professor and the dean of my alma mater at BYU Law School, and he liked to teach us about the Constitution. I think I was about 30 before I realized not every family talks about the presentment clause over dinner, but in my home we did. The U.S. Constitution has fostered the development of the greatest civilization the world has ever known. And the reason for that is it unlocks unlimited human potential by restricting the power of government. The Constitution is important because it outlines the boundaries of what government should be able to do. It outlines certain thou shalt nots that no government may ever do in our system. And in the case of our Constitution, it also splits up power along two axes. On the vertical axis, it sets up a system we know as federalism, which says that most of the power is supposed to remain close to the people, to be exercised at the state level, sometimes at the local level. Only a few powers that are distinctively, unavoidably, and by constitutional mandate national are exercised by the federal government. Along the horizontal axis, it splits up the power that does exist within the federal government between three coordinate branches of government. The legislative branch, where I work, Congress, which makes the laws, the executive branch, headed by the president, that enforces the laws, and the judicial branch, headed by the Supreme Court, that interprets the laws where people disagree as to their meaning. Most of us, I think, when we think of the Constitution, think primarily about the Bill of Rights, about the rights provided under the First Amendment, free speech, free press, freedom of religion, and so forth. They consist primarily of thou shalt nots to government, the federal government in particular. They are very important, and I stand behind them, but they are not the whole thing. In other words, anyone can have a Bill of Rights in any system of government, but unless within that system of government there's also a series of structural protections in place to make sure that no one person, no one group of people can become too powerful, the Bill of Rights in that system will quickly become meaningless. That's something that I think is important for us to focus on in our society today. For too long, we have considered the Constitution as something that is for lawyers and judges, and especially Supreme Court justices, to worry about. That the rest of us don't necessarily need to be conversant in it in our day-to-day conversations about government. Nothing could be further from the truth. From the founding, it's always been an unstated assumption and an essential ingredient in our constitutional system that as citizens in a free republic, we ourselves will have debates and discussions that surround the proper role of government in general, the proper role of the federal government in particular, and even the proper role of each branch operating within that government. What I hope to accomplish through this series is to get people talking and thinking about the Constitution again, around the dinner table, in their political discussions, as they interact with candidates for any government office, especially federal office. To the extent that we as a people can become more in tune with the restrictions that are already imposed on our system of government, we will become more free and therefore more prosperous.